Hi guys, this is Hasib from Hezico, and today we're going to be creating another MCP server. In this MCP server, we're going to create a to-do list. We're going to follow the same pattern as before. We're going to use Python and UV to set it up, and we're going to be using fast MCP. So I'm going to set up a pretty simple instance, and I'm going to show you how you can set it up from start to end. So let's get started. So let's first create a folder, MCP to do. Okay, now we're going to use the terminal to initialize UV init, and it will initialize everything. Now let's start the coding process. Okay, so for this we need to first import JSON because this will hold all of our to-dos. So let's also create a to-do.json. This will include everything from start to end in our to-do list, and basically we will be using this as a data store. So from date time import date time from path lib import path. Okay, so pathlib is basically going to allow us to access the files inside of our system, and that's what we're going to be using from fast MCP import fast MCP. So we're going to use fast MCP for this like we did before. So we'll initialize this MCP equals fast MCP, and we'll name it simple to do. Then we will get the to do file equals path, and we'll to do.json. This will get our to do file. Then we will load this file, load to do try, and return json.loads to do file dot read text. So we'll get everything from the to do file using this. If we'll also do a safe check, so if it doesn't exist we will just return. So if to do file dot exists, else let's just initialize an empty array. So we'll just have to do this so that if to do file exists, else, oh, else. Okay, so once we load the to do file, we will now define a function to save our to dos, and we'll say to do file dot write text json dot dumps to dos dot indent equals 2 and default equals string. So we will give it the indentation, we will also give it like the default data type, and we'll pass in our to dos. Okay, so once that's done, let's now define our MCPs dot tool, define add to do task as string. So we're defining this, basically we can say task as well. We don't have to define types in Python, but this basically is a failsafe to force the user to provide strings. To dos equals load to dos. So we're going to get the initial to dos that we already have. New underscore ID equals max. We're going to take the length and we're basically going to add in a new ID on this. Once that's done, let's append a to do on this. To do, and we'll create an object where we'll say ID equals new ID, and we'll say task, and we'll pass in the task. Then we'll say completed to see if it's completed or not, but as it's a new task we can say completed false. And then we'll say created at, which will be datetime.now.iso format. Okay, so we'll create this new object which will have our new task, and we'll append it to our existing to-dos. Once that's done, now let's save our to-do and pass in the to-dos that we just created, and let's return a string saying return f string added task, and let's pass in the id as well. Id, okay, id equals new underscore id. Right, so we're going to pass we're going to return the id and the new id as well. And now let's do another mcp dot tool. Okay, so we're going to now list our to-dos that we have created. List to-dos, and we're going to return this as a string, and we're going to say to-dos equals load to-dos. So it's going to show all of the to-dos. If not to-dos, so if it is empty, we're going to say return no to-dos found. And then we're going to say, okay, so then we're going to create one to show that our to-dos are complete. So mcp tool again, define complete to-dos and to-do. So we'll pass in the id, that way we can mark certain to-dos as completed, and we'll get it as a string. And then we'll say to-dos, we're going to load in the to-dos equals load to-dos for, so we're going to find the to-do that has this specific id. If to-do dot id equals to-do id. So we're saying if we're looping through all of the to-dos and saying if that id is specific to the id that we passed, then we're going to set that to-do as completed, and we'll say equals true. And then we'll say we'll save that to-do, we'll basically update and save that, and we'll say return to do updated. And if the id isn't found, we'll say return, yeah, so we don't have to basically do that because, okay, so if name equals main, and we're going to do mcp dot run. Right, great. So this basically wraps up our MCP creation. Now we're going to set it up in Claude and test it out. Okay, so now that we're on Claude, we're going to go into our developer options. So Claude and then settings, then developer. Then we're going to edit the config, which will open this folder, and we can open this in our VS Code. There we go. So as you can see, it holds our older server as well. We're going to do the same. So we're going to say to do, and we're going to say to do, and then we're going to do this, and also add the comma here. Okay, so we're going to pass in pretty much the same thing as before because we are going to run it through UV, but this path changes, right? So we'll click our main file, we'll say copy relative path, and we'll paste it here. Oh, sorry, not relative. Okay, so we're going to copy path, we're going to paste it here, we're going to remove this, and we're going to name it main.py. Once that's done, we'll save, we'll come back here, and we will now restart our Claude. So we'll go Claude again, And when we come here, we'll see some errors. Let's see why they are coming up. Okay, because let's try to run it without using Claude firstly. So UV, then we say run python main.py. Oh, I forgot to add fast MCP, and this should work now. Let's try to restart our Claude. Quit Claude, and there we go. So we will come here and we will see that our to do is there. So let's add a task. Can you add a task to my to do saying I have to eat something tonight? Always allow. When you first run new MCPs, it will ask you for permissions. So we go to our to do start JSON, and there we go. So it wants us to eat something, and let's mark it complete. Can you mark the first? Can you list the tasks? And it's going to call the MCP server. Okay. Can you mark ID1 as completed? Always allow. There we go. So you can see that it is marked as true, which means it's completed, and we can ask it, do I have any pending tasks? There you go. So this was us creating an MCP server that creates a to-do list for us. This uses a JSON as a database, but we can use any type of database connected with it. This was pretty straightforward tutorial. Like I said, I can do more complex problems as we move forward through the basics. And this was a fast MCP server using Claude and Python.